Welcome everybody. Nothing scares me more than being a fellow that only just made it through high school, stumbled his way through university, bummed his way through 2 businesses, started another one, and then speak to people that look way smarter. I really enjoy being here. I struggle with this type of stuff. I do get really anxious about it. Yesterday when I rang Mick and I said, mate, I've got to have some melanomas taken off. The doctor's asked for an extra 2-hour appointment. I don't think the news is that good because it's the 3rd time I've been back in 6 weeks and he wants to hack more stuff out. So I said I was planning to wear a white t-shirt. That could look like anything at the end. Don't know what's going to happen, but I'll be there. It'll be fine. So everybody was nervous at work today as well. But we got here, we got it done, and I'm privileged to be able to share a little bit of my story, a little bit about what we stand for, a little bit about the challenging direction that we take, and the fact that we don't apologise for the way we go about it, hence my lovely t-shirt. So I'll get into that first before I kick it off. So I had the privilege of speaking to a good friend of mine, Crystal Kinsella. She runs, she's an Indigenous businesswoman, she has a YouTube show, and she interviewed me and she was on there. I walked out of that feeling pretty cool. I thought I did okay, I didn't swear, I didn't stuff up. I thought it's going to be all right. I watched it as it came on LinkedIn and she shared it, and the first sentence was, Adam Williams is not everybody's cup of tea. And I was like, you bitch, you go. I'm trying to set myself up as a reasonable business fella here. No one's going to call me. So it took me a couple of weeks and it sunk in, and I thought, you know what, it's a fair comment. I'm going to embrace it. So hence I decided to get a shirt made up that sums it up. So that's my theory on that. And it'll give you a bit of an outlook as to how we got to where we have, how I've got to here in my time, because despite my Year 12 report to a lovely school teacher I had called Miss Elliott, I actually did survive to 50, so get stuffed. Our sort of collection of businesses under the Supply Oz Holdings banner covers a few things, not as much as people make out. They all have a reason, they all have a path, and they all have a story to them. We first developed this sort of business concept purely out of the fact that we bury too many of our friends, we bury too many of our colleagues in the Aboriginal community, and we need to be better. So I had a business failure. You know, every disaster turns into a green lining. I didn't know what to do. I'm a big believer that people shortchange when a business fails. I think for me it was a bit like a grieving process because I really loved it and it was going to fly and it was going to be great, and it just didn't work. We had national ranging in Coles and Woolies where no one had said it had happened, but then no one had lent me any money. So in the end my success killed the concept. And it was one of those unique ones where a concept grew out of beers and a barbecue. You know, everyone says no good idea comes at 2 a.m. Well, when a sausage fell off the barbecue and my mate's dog ate it instantly, I said we should just make pet food that looks like human sausages. And we did. So we're not butchers, we had no experience and we had no machinery. So we chucked all the coin that we had, we bought what we could at the time, we rented a shed at Redland Bay, we started making it. At the end of day 1, we were like, there's all this meat and shit on the floor. And the boys just said, don't worry, just get the fire hose, just put it in the drain out the front. Hence we did. We did that for about 3 weeks until the council came and said, you guys, there's like a bad smell coming from here. And I said, no, not us, we pump it with detergent and chlorine at the end of the day, it's all good. And they said, no, in the drain. And we were like, yeah, so that's your drain, not ours, we rent the shed. That didn't go down so well. We then found out that you need to have trade waste and all this sort of cool stuff needs to be put in, where an owner said, I'm not building it, you've got it in the slab, if you want to do it yourself. All right. Probably 3 hours later, myself being me, we rang a few friends, we started digging a hole. And he was like, what are you doing? We said, well, the bloke quoted us 40K to do trade waste, I'm not paying for that. So we bought this drum that the fella at Bunnings said we could use for trade waste, so we're digging a hole in your concrete floor, we're just going to put it in here. We've attached it to the drain outside. And he was like, but you can't do that, that's stormwater. Oh, yeah, okay, I can see where that could become a problem. So then we started to learn this journey around looking after what we do. We have a great impact from it. So from mistakes adversity comes correctness. And so we started to make a few changes. We couldn't produce anything fast enough, so we ended up a unique spot where Coles and Woolies were ringing us in the morning and say, how much did you make yesterday, and I'll send a truck. Like, that doesn't happen if you have a product in Coles and Woolies. They don't do that sort of stuff, but they couldn't measure us because when they put stock on the shelf, it was gone within 10 minutes. So we had put Skin and Coat was one. We had an energy one, which was actually a really good seller, surprisingly. We had a calming one, which sold out like nothing else because it just sort of gave the dog, the AHD dog, a bit of a calm down. And we had genuine ingredients in there. They met all the criteria, and it was a fantastic product. But then we couldn't get any money. So hence, the more orders came, the more pressure we had, and the business ended up dying out of success. So I found my way really struggling with that closure. It cost myself a lot of money. We just managed to save the house and that sort of gear. And then I was privileged enough. Melbourne Business School ran a Murrah alumni. It's like a business education type course where Aboriginal entrepreneurs, business owners, wannabes, ideas, creators, we could get together and have a chat in a formalised environment, and it was fantastic. And we met these people. We started going along. Everybody was sharing a story. So the week before, my best friend committed suicide over 20 grand. A debt collector was hassling for 20K. So his exit was to take the 20K pressure away from his kids, and his life was cashed in for 20. And that was the highlight where we said there's got to be more to doing business and doing stuff. And not 2 days doesn't go by that we don't bury someone from our community under 40. And it's not good enough. So we had a couple of beers at the end of this course, and we said, we think we're all smart, but collectively we could be smarter, and surely we can create a business that then gives people hope at the other end. So this is not the option for relatively a credit card bill, yeah? So in normal society, that's a small bill, but for our communities, 25K is massive. So we started Supply Oz, and the reason we called it Supply Oz was it's because it was the widest name we could think of, so people wouldn't know we're an Aboriginal business, if I wanted to give you the honest truth to it all. So we created it, and our original motto, someone asked us for a SWOT plan. They said, can you do a SWOT for us? I said, well, that's easy. We're just going to ask you what you want. We're going to go and get it, and then I'm going to sell it back to you. So I don't really think I'm going to bother with this SWOT thing. I don't like them. I think they're for I don't know, primary school or something. But I'm not going to fill it in, and therefore they're not going to lend me any money. So if you're not going to lend me any money because I'm not going to fill in a SWOT, we'll just go and do it. So then we just went to corporates, and that was our business plan. We were just going to go there and ask them, what are you currently buying? Will you give me a chance to buy it cheaper or better or quicker or whatever the case may be? And most of them said yes. So we started this business, we registered it off, and that's kind of what we've done ever since. And then that's evolved into what we have today. So both Sean and myself, we are not coffee experts, we are coffee snobs. There's a correct term for what we are. We developed a product, Diwa. We found a person to make it for us. So in my language, Diwa means like good morning, have a good day, like a good start. So coffee's there's a great linkage there. And we got it ranged into Woolworths. Got it ranged nationally into Woolworths. We were ready to go. It's been there now for 3 years. We then, with the money from that, last year we bought Aromas Coffee here in Brisbane. Everybody knows Aromas Coffee in Brisbane. So Brisbane's longest running coffee business is now owned by 2 Aboriginal people, not Greek people. So a very big step change for the culture of that coffee. And not owned by coffee experts anymore, now just owned by 2 coffee snobs. So we think we relate to the consumer a lot easier now as well. And our PPE business is still intact. Jingery is our office supplies business, and we bought an Office National franchise to ensure Aboriginal kids had pens, papers, highlighters, and the rest. So we wanted to level the playing field from day one of school. And that's been our goal for that one. We don't make any money as a business. Our accountant says it's the worst investment we've ever made. It's the worst business model, and it's a horrible balance sheet. And we said, that's cool. Because this year, just on 2,500 kids got the same pack as the kid next to them, and they think their parents bought it. So then for us, it's success. And we do other stuff. We rip you off somewhere else to pay for it anyway, so it's fine. So that gives you an overview of us. Personally, in these type of things, it's not my country here. I'm a visitor here like everybody else. So when somebody else knocks one of these off early, it takes the pressure off me as well. But we do it ourselves a little differently, go a little bit deeper with it, and we also go a little deeper with our products on shelf as well. So if you read a DIY pack, we acknowledge the unceded sovereign nations that exist on the lands as well. So a little better than the sort of what are we going to call it? Am I allowed to swear? Like the soft cock approach that people do with an acknowledgement of country. Like if you're going to do it like you mean it. Write it yourself. Put some stuff to it. Stop calling the ones to come emerging elders. What the hell's an emerging elder? Like let's do it properly. Let's give them a bit of token, yeah? And so I encourage you to write your own. You don't need to roll out the carbon copy one that we do. It's actually really frustrating and kind of bore. So I encourage it and really mean it. For us, this is where we sit now in our business. So in my language, aganma is that bit where fresh water and salt water come together. So I had a botanist tell me, but that's actually a really nutrient-rich part. It's exciting. I'm saying, oh, I'm broke. Not that good. We're just confused. We've got to choose a path. Do we go back into the fresh water, into the little lake where it's nice and comfy and easy and we're a nice little small business, we pocket 100K a year as a wage, we're all happy and everybody sings kumbaya and it's simple? Or do we decide to go into the salt water, challenge the system, really annoy some people, really piss some people off and actually make a change and make a real difference and prove to corporate Australia they don't need to pretend partner with an Aboriginal person to start a business to make an impact? So that's where we sit today. I love it. It's a simple metaphor for where we sit currently as a business, and it really helps us on strategy days, especially when new staff. When they say, so what have you done and where are you going? We say, well, it doesn't really matter what we've done because that was yesterday. But tomorrow's up to you. Do you prefer salt water or fresh? So usually if they say fresh, we prefer the easier way. We kind of just give them a coffee and tell them to go somewhere else. But for us, collectively across, it has been an eye-opener over the last few years as well. So every year since I've been in business, I've gone to the Anaheim Expo, the New Products Expo. It's a fantastic show. Obviously, COVID put a stop to it. This year, unfortunately, these guys didn't go because last year they were embarrassed. So the issues we face here is the same in the US for Native American people. They're all struggling. They're all struggling on how they make a name for themselves, how do they cut a path, because they always feel like they turn up to a show where there's a lot of money spent and it's all flash, and unfortunately they've turned up, with a banner and a blanket and their heart, and it doesn't cut it in that type of show. So for us, it was a feel good for us to, we found these people in a show booth of that crazy magnitude. They actually told us to get away. We were bad for business. We wouldn't leave. But we found them and felt comfortable with them. We now have a relationship with them where through their community in Oklahoma, we now ship 5 tons of coffee to them that they then pack and sell under their brand throughout the US. So from being annoying pests who sort of culturally found a kindred spirit at a really busy, chaotic show, we now have a great little business venture where as soon as we can put hemp into products properly over here, we'll be able to bring some of theirs back. So they have some really cool healing products and some really cool drinks that I would prefer my daughter drank versus Red Bull. And this sums us up in a nutshell. We started and kicked off the business when COVID came. So those different times called for different thinking. And for us, Dungai has a meaning for us where whenever we breathe out, our environment would breathe in. And when our environment breathes out, we breathe in. So everybody will share every breath, everything will share everything. So as we develop our products and we move forward, everything has to be better than Red Cycle. Yeah, we have a new saying in our business. If you're going to do it, it's got to be better than Red Cycle because that was not really that good. And then as we move through with things that we happen, we create waste as well in our coffee. We create more than you think. We would fill 4 to 5 skip bins a week in the bin. So trying to work out what can I do with this stuff that then benefits, we then found with all the shavings that come off the coffee, so it's like a shaving, it looks like a pencil shaving after you've roasted it. And then with all the spent coffee, the barista knocks it in the knock and then it ends up potentially in a garden, just normally in the bin. No one takes a second thought for that stuff. But if you mix the two together and you compress it hard enough, you get this really cool log that you can burn for firewood that burns 3 times hotter than timber. And then for our lovely native plants, it's then an alkaline ash versus an acidic waste that kills them. So then it can go in your garden nice and freely, and it's better for our native plants. So that's a project that we're working through now. And in turn, you can set up these little compressors everywhere. So Aboriginal communities can run them, people can run them all around. So then we're not transporting waste everywhere to make something cool, but we've just killed the process to try and get it to happen. Bunnings have jumped on board and helped us out with our other waste problem, which is the coffee bag, the Hessian coffee bag. I mean, so many dog beds you can hand out for free before people tell you to go away. So we also have that, and then those logs will go in that bag. They'll be sold in Bunnings. So in that project that we have, we get people from low socio-economic end of town, newly arrived Australians where English is not their best language. We can set them on a path, and it can become their business that they own and move through. And it's a great little process of collection. Most cafes are on board until they think we're making money, and now they want to ask questions. Where did you get that extruder from? So it'll come. The big guys will help, and I think it'll be a great path. And before I go, just quickly, why we fight so hard with what we do. I can't advertise my brand on social media, right? It's a legitimate statement because I'm sick of the shit I have to put up with and delete that comes from it. I'm over it. I can't mentally deal with it anymore. And we also can't afford to pay 20 grand for a private company to clean it up. It's an expense that costs 2 jobs. So we get this lovely one, and lovely Yvonne I always put on here. One day I'm going to meet her and she's going to return my message on Facebook because I'm going to interview her because I want to take her challenges straight up. Unfortunately, the politician, there's not much I can do with. And then I took a snapshot before we cut off social media on DWA. So these are just a random snapshot of fantastic Australians that feel the need to comment on our lovely coffee page. And this is a snapshot. So in a week, we would get about 600 of these from different people. Some I've tracked down. One fella actually lived in Mount Cotton, and he was really surprised that that's less than 5 minutes from my house. And when I told him I was out the front, if he wanted to come out, I can't understand what he was trying to say. I was happy to sort of educate him on the answer. So there's a whole pile to it, and it's the stuff that holds other Indigenous people back to bring a business to light. And I think we just need to be better. And it's one of the reasons, rightly or wrongly, we have kept Aromas as Aromas rather than advertise that it's now owned by Aboriginal people. We've left it as a green bean to a brown bean so it can trade on its own because we don't get this type of feedback daily on that site. So if I did black out the names because I put this up at a Committee of Brisbane thing, and a lawyer told me that if one of them people are in the room, they could sue you. So hence last week you would have seen who they were. Happy to share it with you and see if you know them, to be honest. But we don't care. We do it anyway. We have delivered just on $1.7 million in cash and products to the Aboriginal community in the last 12 months. We'll do it again. We'll aim for $2 million this financial year. We drag our partners with us, so Woolies, the like, that they come along with the journey too, or if not, they don't get the coffee, which is a really different conversation. We also have a shitload of fun. So we've got to sit courtside and watch Paddy Mills. We put our coffee on the love sign, which cost me $85 from a Philly policeman, right, which is something, be wary when trying to steal something off them. We paid too much for a steak on Rodeo Drive, which was another great one. And, you know, it's real fun with what we do. We enjoy what we've done, every minute of it. And one big part that I do say, I have the photo with Di Farmer in there because she turned up when we bought Aromas and didn't know who we were, but she's never posted that image on her Facebook page when she posts everything else. So it's unfortunate she's not here because I really love talking to her about that one. And I do use the photo a lot. Winning the Buy Queensland Award is another classic one. They told me by winning the award I couldn't speak when I accepted it, which I found odd. I also found really odd that I was even there, considering at the time Queensland government hadn't bought $1 worth of product from us, so I'm not sure how I was eligible. But we won the award. They leveraged off what we did in community, and I still don't get it. But that's what it is. We have a pile of more stuff coming. Hopefully you'll see it everywhere as we get through. We won't miss you. It'll all come along, and then it'll be set up here on the river at River Makers. So we've signed that agreement now. It'll be a purpose-built roasting facility along the river. It's a total a carbon neutral facility. solar and hydrogen power it. We've done away with natural gas on the roasting process. We'll be able to cut you through. So with Maloney Milk, we'll be able to offer you a Queensland-owned and made carbon-neutral cup of coffee every day. Thank you.